Hello, welcome to today's presentation entitled Building a Great Team. My name is Bill Giannone, and on behalf of everyone at the Crest Network, I welcome you. Today we're going to talk about how you can help your team by using concepts that come from sports. Just a very simple, quick hitter for you, to use another baseball term. What kind of company are you? Are you a small company? And the analogy here is a football that only has 8 stitches on it. Or are you a very large company? And here we have the baseball has 108 stitches. Think of these stitches as your employees. I want you to see how the stitches on each one of the balls is interconnected. How, if you look at them, you can see them as individual stitches, but if you also look closer, you can see how they're interconnected and they all work together towards one goal, and that is to make the ball perfect. That's what your employees should be doing in your company. They should be working together, even though they are individuals, to be able to make your company more perfect. Now, of course, every once in a while, things happen to these stitches and things happen to our employees. What happens when even a single stitch fails on one of these balls? Maybe you don't see it as much on footballs, but those of us who grew up playing baseball, especially when we were very desperate to have a ball, every once in a while you'd notice that one of the stitches would get frayed. Well, sure enough, after time, those stitches, because they are all interrelated, would all start coming apart and fraying, and you'd be left with nothing else than a ball of yarn and string that was basically useless. So how do we keep that from happening? What we need to do is we need to design our company so that everyone is important. It's very important to think like this because as with the ball, every single stitch is important and there is no stitch more important than the rest. Same thing happens with your employees. Whether you're the CEO of the company or whether you're the brand new helper that's going out on jobs, every single person has responsibility. Let's design it that way so that we get maximum performance out of everyone and we get the perfect blend for our company of workers and their performance. First thing we need to do is we need to set up a responsibility matrix for tasks. A lot of people call them KPIs or key performance indicators. Other people use checklists and sheets and performance criteria. Whatever you call them, it's fine. You just need to make sure that everybody knows what's expected of them. As a company, you should line up those responsibilities for each worker so that interconnected with each other, they perform the functions that you want the company to perform. Obviously, if you have a project out in the field, you need certain people in the office to support that project in the field. You need the field personnel to all be doing their portion of the project. Not everybody should be hanging containment. Not everybody should be setting equipment. Certain people should have certain tasks on the job, but you need to make sure that they all work together in unison so that at the end of the day, everybody is supporting the mission of the company. The next thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to train and support your team. It's very, very important. Many times as owners, we make a fatal mistake because we don't understand or we don't realize what our teams don't know. If you hand them a checklist and just tell them to go and make the flood cut at the Smith house, maybe your new guy who's only been with you a couple days doesn't even know what the term flood cut means. Now, we understand it because we've been in the business for a long time, but it's very important to make sure you train everything. Going to give you a little sports story about training. Goes back to one of the greatest coaches of all time, John Wooden. He was a famous basketball coach, for those of you who don't know, at UCLA, and he won many, many national championships at a time when they were the dominant force in college basketball. Well, John Wooden, every single year, the very first practice when his team got together early in the fall, he sat all his players down, and before they ever dribbled the ball or got on the court, he sat them down and he taught them how to tie their shoelaces. Now, this seems like something very, very basic that everybody should have learned before they went into kindergarten or first grade. But John Wooden did this for a specific purpose. He always thought about making sure that he didn't take anything for granted in his coaching. So he started with tying shoelaces, and it was because he wanted to teach his players how to put their socks on properly and how to properly lace their sneakers in order to avoid getting blisters. Because as the year went on, he knew that the most important thing for his players was the health of their feet. So he took a very, very long period of time in his very first practice teaching them how to tie their shoes. Kind of a crazy concept when you think about it, but when it comes down to it, he didn't take anything for granted and he didn't leave anything to chance. He trained. Supporting your team goes to making sure they have the tools ready to be able to do their jobs. You can't send them out there to dry a building if you don't have the proper dehumidifiers and air movers. You have to make sure that you're outfitting them for success, from their outfits and uniforms to the trucks, to the tools, to the equipment. Even the paperwork and the computer programs that you're using within the company should all be tied into your mission. So not only is training important, but also support, making sure that they have everything they need. The next step you have to make sure you're doing is that you're properly setting expectations. Don't put them out there without a specific goal. Tell them what you expect from their efforts, either on a daily basis or at least on a weekly basis. Have meetings with them. Always be going through everything they're doing. Make sure you're not setting the bar too low or too high. Make them reasonable expectations. We sometimes set the bar too high, but most times we set the bar too low. We don't ask enough out of our teams and our staff, and we're leaving a lot of things on the table that our company should be capitalizing on. Demand excellence, demand commitment, and demand good, high quality effort. That's what you should be doing, but set those expectations before they go out on the job. We talked about making sure that we have meetings, the weekly or daily meetings. When you're doing that, you want to be able to encourage their effort and you want to encourage their achievement. You want to recognize both. Make sure that if they make mistakes, you're not just getting up in their grill. Make sure that you're recognizing the things they did proper and correct, as well as pointing out the things that they need to work on for improvement. That's a very, very big sports thing. We call it a compliment sandwich. Usually when we're coaching young children, it's very easy for us to get caught up and get frustrated because many times it might take them dozens, if not hundreds of attempts to do something correctly. So we always need to be doing positive reinforcement. We need to point out the things they're doing correct first. That puts them in a good mood. It also makes them more receptive to hearing the things that they need to work on. Then we always finish up by encouraging their effort. Hey, you know what? You didn't catch the ball, but you really did a good job trying to get there. Those are the kinds of things that make for great youth sports coaches. They make for great professional coaches, and they also make for great team leaders. And as the owner of your team, you need to be a leader and you need to be encouraging them. You want to watch the scoreboard. During a game, if you don't watch the scoreboard to know who's winning or losing, to know the situation that you're in and how much time is left, you have no way to know how to finish that game. Or you're finishing the game improperly. Well, the same goes with business. Our scoreboard is really our numbers. We need to be looking at our numbers all the time. If you think that your PMs are doing a great job out there because they're closing a lot of work, but you don't know exactly what their closing ratios are, or you don't know what the average job size is, how can you really properly assess their effort and their achievement? You can't. So you need to be looking at your own numbers. It's not good enough just to say, well, they're bringing in money. Let's analyze it. Let's drill down. Let's make sure they're not using too many staff on a job. Let's make sure they're being very judicious in their use of your consumables, not just throwing out a half a roll of plastic or half a box of garbage bags. Those can be used on other jobs. Those little things do add up. So that's why it's important on a daily basis to watch the scoreboard. And at the end of the day, guys, whether you're an owner that's in it just for the money or you're in it because you have a passion for the industry, it doesn't matter. You have to be in it to win the game. If you're in this just to have a pastime or just to have it as a hobby, you're not doing a service to your clients or to your employees. You have to want to win the game. And part of winning the game is following all those steps that are above it. Set up the goals for success. That's your matrix. Train and support your team. Give them the tools for success. Make sure you're setting expectations. Demand excellence. Tell them what you expect out of them. Encourage them as they're going on. Make sure you train them and then encourage following up with them. Look at what they're doing. Teach. Constantly be teaching. Always be teaching and training. There's an ABC expression, always be coaching. That's very important. Watch that scoreboard, always track their efforts, and then know that you've won the game. In a business, you have to look at your victories on a game-by-game basis. Your business is really the season, and each job is a game. So that's how we know. Track each job, track the progress, and win as many games as you can. When winning becomes second nature to you, that's when you know you've got a successful business. On behalf of everyone at the Crest Network, I want to thank you for watching this video. We encourage your feedback, and we want you to always be looking at what we're doing here at the Crest Network, because every day things change. And we thank you very much for your time. Have a great day.